What's up, everybody? Brandon from Sinister Gaming, back at it like a bad habit, and today I am bringing you guys my top cut regional deck list. Yep, that's right. This past weekend I went to a regional up here in Stockholm, Sweden, and I placed 6th playing Tearlaments Yugioh. This is my deck list. So quick shout outs. I wanted to give a shout out to my friend Loa. There are some proxies in this deck profile because he had lent me some cards and I had since given them back. So there are proxies, but we will cover that when we get to them. So big shout out to my friend Loa for going ahead and letting me borrow some cards for the event. Another big shout out to my friend Brio over at Team Trust. He really helped me prepare for the mirror match, playing mirror matches with me a couple days up until the event. A lot of practice went into this and a lot of theory crafting and deck building that he helped me with. So again, big shout out to Brio, big shout out to Loa. Go ahead and comment, like, subscribe, and go ahead and share this with somebody who loves Tearlaments, loves Yu-Gi-Oh, or maybe they just like Yugioh, because I mean, she's pretty cool too, right? So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started into the deck profile. We'll go ahead and move this off to the side for now. Start off with the main deck. So we did play the standard lineup, well, what has now become standard, right? The 2 Rhino Heart, triple Shaylin, triple Havnis, and of course the triple Merly. So this is what has now become the standard lineup, right? This is what everyone seems to be playing, and in my opinion, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Rhino Heart is technically the worst normal summon into a Bestial, just because it goes and just loses to 1 Bestial or 1 hand trap, so to say, right? But ironically, it becomes one of the best mills into a Bestial. So that's why I think 2 is actually still very good. You don't really want to run 1 because then you don't really see it as often. Running 2 is very nice. You mill it quite often, and if you need to search it, it's there. It's just so good. And the rest of them, you have to max out on them. You need to see your tier names when you mill. You know, it's self-explanatory. So this is what has now become the standard lineup, and it's always been very good that way. For more Tearlament cards, we go ahead and run 3 Field Spell, 1 Terraforming, 1 Scream, 1 Heartbeat, and 2 Sullic. So the Scream and the Heartbeat, I like Heartbeat because it lets me add back the Sullic after pitching it to bring back the Rhino Heart. It also makes it so I don't have to search the Sullic off of the Kit Kalos, right? Because then it lets you go ahead and add it back later on if it gets milled or something like that. And the chances are pretty high to mill the Sullic, seeing as there's 2. The Heartbeat is also very niche. A lot of people have been cutting it due to the fact that Mystic Mine is now banned. But I decided it's still main deck worthy because there are other crazy field spells that are out, such as Necro Valley, as well as the new unlimited Dimensional Fissure and Macrocosmos, not field spells, continuous, but still crazy cards that would like to be stopped, in my opinion. But the add back effect is really nice, and to me that was the main reason for running it. Scream is amazing in the mirror match. It lets you just out tempo and out grind your opponent in the mirror match, as well as against rogue decks. If they don't activate effects in the graveyard, you could just fuel your graveyard, but at the same time maybe milling key pieces like milling a Robina or something like that. You know, it can really come up to where Scream's mill and the -500 becomes very relevant. So this was the other Tearlament cards that I ran, and they're I have no complaints. It just worked very good. It was perfect for the event. As for the fairies, we are running a full suite of fairies. So we got 3 Yugioh, 3 Kelbeck, 3 Keldo, 3 Mudora, and of course the one of Orange Light. So we're still playing the Orange Light, which I think caught a lot of people off guard. A lot of my opponents were actually not even playing the Yugioh, where I was maxing out on 3 Yugioh, and they were definitely not playing the Orange Light. I think the Orange Light is very strong and a very high impact card against rogue decks. So I decided to keep it in because I wasn't sure, since it is a regional, I wasn't sure on how many people would be on a tier 0 deck such as this, and maybe just playing their favorite deck to have fun with their friends, right? Or things like that. So Orange Light becomes really high impact against the rogue decks, especially when you Orange Light pitch a Kelbeck or an Yugioh, and it just creates so much synergy. And the fact that I'm maxing out on all the other fairies makes my orange light more live than not, right? So it's very nice, and I honestly liked it more than I thought I would. I thought it would be bad in the mirror match because you can't really use the orange light early on. You kind of have to wait, and it's not really an optimal time when you have to wait or something like that. So, but I liked it. I really did like it more than I thought I would. And the Yugioh, I really liked the Yugioh. A lot of people were not playing it, like I said. One of my matchups, he was running 0. Another one of my matchups, he was running 1. I was running 3, which made every matchup that was not Tearlament just insane. We were milling 10 so often, and it just devastates decks that do not have graveyard effects by just milling almost half their deck. So, or I guess a quarter of their deck is what it is. So I really like this lineup. For now, I'm not sure if I will keep running this lineup, mainly because the orange light going to 1 does kind of hurt the fairy lineup. But for this event, I really enjoyed it, and it was very nice to be able to mill all these rogue strategies. We are running also a small bestial package. We are running 1 Soronir, 2 Druis Worm, and triple Magnamut. So this is again a small, quote unquote small bestial lineup, right? We're not maxing out on Druis Worm or Soronir because I'm not a big fan of opening multiples of them, to be honest. Magnamut, I'm still not a fan of opening multiples, right? But Magnamut being able to search the other 2, it's better to see it in your opening hand. Druis Worm, I'm becoming more of a fan of it just because of the send effect. It's becoming more and more relevant. Not really in the mirror match, but like I keep saying, against the rogue matchups and against anything that's not the mirror match, it becomes very relevant to be able to send Soronir. Soronir, everyone thinks it doesn't do anything, right? Because it kind of doesn't. But being able to mill one of the other 2 names from the deck just to make your draws slightly better is actually very, very nice. And it has come up a couple times. So I'm a big fan of Soronir. I would not cut Soronir, but at the same time, I would not bump it up. The one that I do think I might bump up in the future, if I do end up changing my fairy lineup, would be Druis Worm. Druis Worm, I'm really enjoying how it plays. And to be fair, it's the one that I really want to search off of Magnamut. Why not open it, right? Opening it a little bit more often should be pretty good. But that's our Bestials. And for our last spells, we are running the One of Instant Fusion. I love this card. This card is just insane. And then the last 3 spell cards in our deck is Mask Change 2. So Mask Change 2 overperformed, I want to say. It really did overperform this tournament. It performed so well, being able to trigger, like I said, running more Yugiohs. I was able to mill more than the average, well, not the average, but the average Tearlament deck at the event that I played at, right? So I was milling more often, and Mass Change 2, being able to trigger my Yugioh is just insane. You summon the Dark Law, you trigger the Yugioh, next thing you know, on summon of Dark Law, you go ahead and banish the top 5 of your opponent's deck, right? It's just so crazy, all while dodging things like Imperm, triggering your Tearlament graveyard effects. It's so good. It really overperformed. To be fair, this is one of the things that my friend Brio put me on, as well as a couple other friends that I have at locals. They tried to convince me that Mass Change 2 was the way. At first, I wasn't really convinced, but after a couple playtesting, I was like, okay, this is the way. And at the event, it really did overperform. It dominated every single rogue matchup. I remember the final game, I did end up losing. It was to a mirror match, but still I won game 2 because of Mass Change 2. I went ahead and did Kit Kalos effect. He activated Imperm. I changed Mass Change 2, got myself a mill 5, but I pitched the Yugioh as well. So I milled 5 for myself, milled another 5 for the Yugioh, banished his top 5. It just snowballed out of control. So Mass Change 2, an insane addition to the deck that I really was not expecting to be as good as it was. I love this card. I will probably be running it in the future, foreseeable, just because it's so insane at how good it is. But that's pretty much it for the main deck. It's a 42 card main deck. We'll go ahead and move on to the extra deck. And let's go ahead and start off with my Bandai cards. Y'all know how much I love my Bandai cards. You know, Dark Magician, Polly, Blue Eyes. Let's go ahead and leave those boys up there. And let's go ahead and add a Ishizu over there. You know what I'm saying? Everybody likes her nowadays. So for our Tearlament fusions, we run 1 Kick Hellos, 1 Rule Hellos, and 1 Kaleido Heart. This really isn't anything out of the ordinary. It's just a standard lineup. You don't really need 2 Kick Hellos, especially now with the shufflers. There's really no reason for it. Rule Hellos, she's just needed because of the Bystials, right? The Bystials, she's so good at preventing the Bystials, and the fact that she could bring herself back at least once is very, very good. It's very, very good actually to use her effect to pop things in hand or other cards on the field. In one matchup, I Rule Kalos sent Scream from my field after activating Scream's effect earlier in the turn, and my opponent just said, wait, let me read this. So you might be able to catch some people off guard by sending a Scream or a Sulik face up, and then they just have to be like, wait, is it any card? Yep, it's any card. So you can trigger your spells and traps with Rule Kalos also. For other fusions, we run the Mud Dragon, the Dark Law, Garura, and Dracostapelia. So Dracostapelia, again, a lot of people are considering cutting. I really don't think I would cut it personally. This is very good in the Flunder matchup, as well as very good in the Sprite matchup, and as well as just being a very good generic fusion that you can pump out in case you need it, right? So that's kind of my reasoning for keeping the Dracostapelia around, even though I am playing the Dark Law. The Dark Law is just an insane addition, but I really did not want to cut the Dracostapelia. The Swamp and the Garura, I would consider kind of mandatory, especially with the Bystials. The Garura just becomes so much better because we are playing another extra deck card that that synergizes very well with Garura. Let's go ahead and get into it, right? So the extra deck card that I'm talking about is an XYZ. So we'll go ahead and jump over to the XYZs. I am running Abyss Dweller, Redoer, Beatrice, and Zeus. So Garura makes making Beatrice a lot easier, especially with the Bystials, and not only that, but you will get its effect, and then you will even be able to chain block things like to protect yourself from Ghost Spell or things like that by going Tearlament, let's say Hovness, you dump Hovness with Beatrice, you go Hovness, Chainlink 1, Garura, Chainlink 2 to draw, right? Next thing you know, they can't bell you, and they're forced to do a different interaction if they have it. It's just nice to be able to chain block things. It makes making her a lot easier. You only need 1 Bystial to make her, and then you could just fusion into Garura, stack, Beatrice. Whereas in other decks, maybe you need 2 Bystials, right? The Zeus is something that, again, my friend Brio put me on. It's insane how good this card is. He basically convinced me by making Abyss Dweller, effect detach, punch into something, Zeus, and then he Zeused me for 6, right? So once he did that, I said, okay, I need to be running this card. In my opinion, this card is mandatory in this deck now. Before, maybe it wasn't, back when we had the dangers and stuff, the danger variant and things like that, maybe it wasn't. Now that it's tier 0 mirror matches all day, Zeus is just so nice. It came up for me twice in the tournament where I went second, I made Abyss Dweller, I punched, I Zeused, cleared their board, and then I was able to play and just gain momentum, and they just were not able to come back. So Zeus, an amazing addition, pretty much mandatory, I would say. For our links and our last extra deck cards, we have Dark, Elf, Sprind, and Baron. Okay, so this Baron was originally, during the event, an access code. I never made it, so I really did not think it was gonna be that relevant moving forward. I never had to pop, let's say, like a Mud Dragon on my opponent's side of the field or anything like that. It just never came up. I never made it. I didn't think it was necessary, so I went ahead and gave it back to my friend, told him thank you, and put in Baron instead. But this Baron was an access code for the event. It just never came up. I never made it. Besides that, the rest of these are self-explanatory. Dark is good for bringing back opponent's Magnuma, also getting you a search if it happens to get destroyed. Elf brings back Merly, as well as making whatever it points to untargetable. Usually it's your Rukalos or your Kaleido Heart. Sprind sends Merly to be able to fuse. That's pretty much the explanation, which they don't even really need. But we'll go ahead and move on to the side deck. So, like I said, still proxies, right? we'll go ahead and start with those. This proxy, this originally was Scattershot for the event. Scattershot, a lot of my friends told me, was just, it had more synergy, so I believed them. Luckily for me, I never went at the time and never came up. I never needed to side it, so it was all good. Another 3 cards for time that I did end up siding was the Go Sisters. The reason for me siding this was because one of my matches was a Danger Dark World matchup, and the game 1, he won the die roll, he went first. His combo was 22 minutes long, so I figured, okay, going into game 2, I mean game 1, I just scooped up after 22 minutes of him comboing. I let him play so I could see what his end board is, see what I needed to stop, you know the interactions of the deck, because it was my first time really seeing the new structure deck being played, so I really wanted to take a moment and like learn to see what his plays were. So I let him go the full 22 minutes of the combo, and then game 2 he pretty much scooped instantly, and then game 3 he said he was going to try to FTK me again. I said, oh no, another 22-minute combo. I might not get to sprint, but at least I'll get to the dogwood, right? It didn't happen. I didn't see it. It wasn't necessary. I won in game 3 by just hitting him with some bestials on the 2 big Dark World monsters, Grapha and the new Rainbow. So it wasn't necessary, but I still sided them in. I figured I might as well let you guys know. For more hand traps, 3 Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. These cards came in every single time I faced a mirror match. Being able to hit the Kit Kalos at proper timing can really mess up your opponent's plays, force them to go into a Garura, a Mud Dragon, something that they were not expecting to go into. They were probably planning on going Kit Kalos, getting a search, being able to play, but next thing you know, Reaper comes down, banishes the Kit Kalos. I get to look at their extra deck, gain free information, seeing what extra deck monsters they're playing, seeing if I should be playing around Zeus, if I should be playing around Access Code, things like that. But it's mainly just to take away the Kit Kalos, although it does have other applications. Like you guys saw, I am running a couple Sprite cards in the extra deck. You can always hit those. Or if you know your opponent is running Dweller and you're afraid that Dweller is really going to hurt you, you can always just hit the Dweller as well. So this card actually has versatility to it, and it performed well in my opinion. I'll probably keep playing it, even depending on how the format evolves. For more proxies, I guess this is Harpy's Feather Duster, but these Raigekis were at the tournament Lightning Storms. Again, big shout out to my friend Loa letting me use some cards. These Lightning Storms, I sided them in quite often. I didn't really see them. It wasn't necessary for me to see them. I just sided them in against the Flunder matchup, but again, they didn't come up. It was not necessary. I guess it could have been any other card and it really wouldn't have made a difference. I didn't open it. It really didn't matter. But these cards were mainly against Flunder. The Lightning Storm I figured was better than a Raigeki or a Dark Hole, seeing as how those are becoming more and more popular. I didn't think that those were better than Lightning Storm, especially since if your opponent is maybe more on like a control strategy like Flunder and ends on M-Pen with a couple sets and a map, it's really important to be able to hit the back row. And then at other times, maybe they end on Barrier Statue End Pen with only map, no back row, right? So then it's more important to hit the monsters. So the versatility in Lightning Storm made me favor it over something like Dark Hole or Raigeki. But like I said, I had to give my friend back his Lightning Storms. But big thanks, Loa, big thanks. So these last side cards are for going first. We have Triple Tactic Talents and the Tearlament Crime. If you guys noticed, I'm not running Crime in the main deck. The reason for that is because I figure I felt like most of the games where I lost going second in testing, especially against the mirror match, is opening a dead card like Crime. Crime, if you're going second, it doesn't really do as much as you would like it to do. Yet going first, it becomes so powerful, especially being able to search it with Scream or Kit Kalos. It's so easily accessible. So why not just run the one of that can really just negate things like Evenly Matched, right? So if your opponent is siding in things like Evenly Matched, Lightning Storm, or things like so, maybe even a Necro Valley, you can use Crime to negate whatever blowout card they try to put up against you, and while at the same time popping off your own Tearlament effects in hand, right? So it becomes really, really good, mainly going first though. So I decided to put it in the side deck and only side it in when I was guaranteed to go first, which I think worked out really well. It stopped a lot of good cards. It stopped the Necro Valley. It stopped the Evenly. Sadly, he had a second Evenly, but that's okay. Nothing much to do about that, right? But it's fine. I think it belongs in the side deck. I think it lives very well in the side deck. You put it in when you guarantee go first, and if not, then you go ahead and leave it there. Triple Tactic Talents, insane. Also very good if you go first. It's just very, very good card, so versatile. If you feel like you need a little bit more gas, you draw 2. Chances are you're going to draw something good if you've already been milling, or if you've already searched key pieces or things like that. At the same time, being able to take control of a Kaleido Heart or a Rukalos or even a Dark can be very, very strong, to just be able to link climb or to be able to stop them from negating you with Rukalos or things like that. Or if you're going first, which is when I sided in, and they go ahead and bestial you, or you force their interactions by milling an Agido or a Kelbeck, and then you mill another 5, and then they trigger some Tearlament effects, or maybe they want to use a shuffler to put your stuff back. You guarantee that your talents will be live, and then that way you go ahead and maybe rip a card from hand, right? Ripping a card from hand is very, very strong. You get game knowledge. You see if their hand is good, what you need to play around. Triple Tactic Talents, the versatility of this card right now, and being able to really ensure that it's gonna pop off in the mirror match especially, is very, very good. And for that reason, I decided to play 3 of them in the side deck. It just became so strong in testing, and I decided why not, right? But other than that, that's pretty much it. That was my deck list. I had a lot of fun at the event. Like I said, I placed 6th, and I just had a lot of fun, you know. So that's pretty much my deck profile. Thank you so much for your time. Again, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share it with one of your best friends. I'm sure they'll have fun watching this video. All right, well, thank you guys so much, and I'll check you guys out next time.